So this is our guide on the Invisible Woman inside Marvel Rivals. This is one of the new characters we got with the Season 1 update. So first we're going to start with the basics, then we'll give you some additional tips in the gameplay portion of this video. But when it comes to her main attack, the Orb Projection, she deals 20 damage per hit, but the actual attack is like a boomerang. It comes back, so technically it deals 40 damage. So it deals 20 damage on the way out and then 20 damage on the way back. Now the maximum distance for this is 30 meters, so a decent distance away, to be fair, to actually deal some damage. So this is the primary healing ability, which also heals as well, which is 40 per hit, so that's 80 in total. So that's 40 on the way there, 40 on the way back, because like I said, it's kind of like a boomerang effect with this one. So the next ability is her shield, which provides 300 HP of shield to your teammate, but also heals them for 50 HP a second as well. Now once the shield does take a bit of damage, you can then obviously take it away. It shortens down your cooldown a little bit, but not by much, depending on how much damage the shield itself has actually taken within that time. Now the shield only sits in front of teammates. You cannot put it on yourself, and you cannot put it anywhere else you want on the map. It has to sit in front of a teammate, and then it's stationary shield after that. The next ability is the Psionic Vortex, which basically you plant down, it sucks in enemy players, but also it does 35 damage a second. It lasts 4 seconds and has a 5-meter radius. So that's how this ability works. You can also attack them obviously within that vortex time as well. The next ability is Force Physics, which allows you to suck enemies in or push them outwards. This has a 30-meter length and a 1.5-meter radius, so keep that in mind. You kind of need to be aiming on your target for this to actually work. And like I said, you can also suck them in as well, but the sucking in distance is 7 meters and the push distance is 12 meters, so just keep that in mind. It's slightly different when you do either or. The next ability she has is her passive ability, which allows her to go completely invisible for as long as you want. Now you need to make sure that you're not using any abilities or attacks. The only ability you can use is her double jump, which we'll get on into in just a moment, but she can stay completely invisible and she can heal at 20 HP a second, and this is as long as you stay invisible, you can heal up. So now the other ability she has is the ability to double jump. Now the double jump actually makes you invisible as well. So instead of waiting for that couple of seconds to go invisible, you can double jump and you'll instantly become invisible. And it also, like I said, provides you a double jump in the first place to evade certain enemy fire or to get yourself into a safer position. Last but not least, we have our ultimate ability, which basically lasts 8 seconds. And within the radius that you see here, everything inside this radius is invisible and also keeps healing teammates. And everyone outside cannot see what is happening inside. Now if they do pass the barrier, they can see what's inside the radius, but then they start getting slowed down within that distance. So whilst they're inside your spell field, they will be slowed down. Now they don't take any damage or anything like that, they're only slowed within this. So if enemies do penetrate this barrier, they become slower and they can still deal you damage in this time. The other thing I want to point out with this character before we get into the gameplay tips is her melee. So as you can see, she does a melee attack and then she does a force push, which does a little bit extra damage. So her standard melee is a 1, 2, and then a push. So as you can see here, she pushes the enemies forward and that does a little bit extra damage than usual. So please keep that in mind. This is very important. Getting on into the gameplay and some additional tips now. With this character, she's not the best healer in the game. She's not going to be healing really good like Jeff the Sharks, Luna Snows, even Loki's. There's other characters that heal way quicker than this character. So I think she is a support character, but mainly for crowd control. She's not really the best healer in the game, let's be honest. And if you've used this character for any sort of length of time, I know she's only been out for a couple of days, you understand that other characters definitely heal a bit quicker. So I do want to point that out. But the way you should be using this character, like I said, is for crowd control, and you need to use her abilities and combos to do that. So the first one is the Force Burst with the push combo. So basically you want to put the Force Burst down, let it suck in enemies, and then push them back into the burst again with the force. And I think that's one of the best ways to do it. You can also pull them in and do it that way as well. So you can basically put the Force Burst down on your feet and then suck them in. So that's 2 ways to do it essentially with that ability. And then Obviously, you can attack them yourself with your primary attack, or you can let your teammates deal with the rest, obviously deal a bit more damage because they will probably be DPS characters. The other ability that I don't see anyone doing whatsoever is actually going invisible in the first place. Even though that's her passive ability, you need to make use of this so you can literally sit in the back line and no one would even know you're there when it comes to the Invisible Woman. So that is obviously the benefit of using this character over some of the other healers in the game in the first place. And when you do this, you need to use the melee attack. Now, this is going to work extremely effectively on characters like Doctor Strange, anyone with a shield, Magneto, or even like the high HP characters like Groot, for example. If you see your teammates dealing damage to them and you're behind them and you're doing a melee attack to push them forward as well, because the melee kind of gives you that kind of push effect, then this is going to be absolutely insane at getting kills, because you're the only person that can penetrate the back line without having to do any damage or anything whatsoever. And you can basically flank constantly with this character whilst gaining heals on the way doing it. So that is something I highly recommend doing, and it's something that no one really does or has talked about in videos. The other thing is sharing your shield with your team. Now, the way the shield works in this game, as I mentioned, is that you can only put it in front of a teammate, so that is the only way to do it. And obviously most of your teammates are going to be moving about quite a lot, to be honest, especially if you don't have any vanguards in your team. So once you've put it down, your teammates have caught the heals from it, they're likely to just move on from that. So what you can do is use the shield yourself as well. So place it on a teammate that's in a good position, then let them heal up, but also you can sit behind the shield as well. There's nothing stopping you doing that and gaining some heals from the shield once it's placed down. It's just that you need to then move it into a different location afterwards. But in that time, you're going to get good heals, and you're protecting yourself as well as your teammates. So obviously share the shield, even though you cannot put it at your own feet. Then when it comes to the double jump, I think 90% of the time you ought to be using this to escape. That is kind of the whole idea of this ability, in my opinion. You get to go invisible immediately, you start your health regen and all that stuff. So you want to use this to get out of the fights. You don't want to be using it to kind of like get into the fights. It makes kind of no sense really to do that. You want to get into the fight, gain your heals. You can even sit in a corner, to be honest, no one's even going to see you whatsoever, and then get back into the fight again quite quickly. And like I said, even if you don't have the jump ability, you do want to learn when to disengage. That's another really important part with this character. I think that's probably the main key thing. If you don't take anything away from this video, definitely take away this. You need to learn to disengage with this character. There's no other way around using her very well. You need to be able to sit in a corner, know when you're going to lose the fight, hide somewhere, basically camp out for a little bit, gain your heals back, and then get back in again. And that's kind of the difference between a very good Invisible Woman and a kind of average Invisible Woman. Knowing when to disengage, gain your heals back, and no one's even going to know you're there. And in that time, you can reposition into a really good position as well. So that's something you need to kind of build into your gameplay there. And like I said, this character is all about crowd control, by the way, so make sure you are doing it. When it comes to her ultimate ability, it's pretty straightforward. You want to use it on the objective itself because it only makes sense to do that. And no one's going to see what's inside that. Even though they know you're going to put it on the objective anyway, it makes sense just to put it on the objective. You gain heals, no one knows what's inside it exactly until they pass the barrier, and even if they do pass the barrier, they're getting slowed down, so it's going to make it a lot easier for your team to kill them, even if they're inside the barrier with you. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.